Welcome to Saturday's Warrior. I'm Trevor, and I got my buddy Jimmy with me, who was at the Big 12 Conference Championship game. So we're going to hear all about that. But before we do, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. It's free for you, helps us a ton. We appreciate it. But Jimmy, so I want to hear all about the game, your experience, what it was like being in AT&T Stadium, the feelings from the fans, and everything. But first, I have a really important question to ask you. What is your favorite Pop Tart flavor?
You know what? This might be controversial. I think I'm going to go the cinnamon brown sugar. That's that brown one, right? Been a while since I had it, but that was usually my go-to. And I do just want to clarify. It looks like I'm in a bathroom right now. I'm at a school, not leaning against a bathroom stall door or anything like that. So,
hey, to each his own. So, you got to go when you got to go. So that is my second favorite flavor, the cinnamon brown sugar. I will tell you, this is probably one of my hottest takes that I've ever had on the show. My very favorite Pop-Tart flavor, also have not had Pop-Tarts in forever, but if I were to eat one, and when I was eating them regularly, probably back in the college days, was the strawberry unfrosted flavor. So, yeah, no frosting. I know I'm going to get skewered for that take, but that's how I feel.
Toasted or not toasted?
Oh, toasted. Yeah, it's completely different. Untoasted, it's that's not fit for human consumption. But I still eat it, but it's not fit for people. But that's never stopped me in the past. So good deal. So Jimmy, tell me all about the game. Now, was this your first time at AT&T Stadium?
Yeah, it actually was. I live pretty close to the area, but it's my first time there. My kids have gone on field trips. That seems to be a popular destination there, but that was my first time there. Really, really cool place. It's always a little bit risky when you invest into a big time sporting event because you might get blown out and just be miserable the whole time. But luckily, like we were still able to enjoy at least the first half and part of the third quarter. If I could do it differently, I would make sure I know where the BYU sidelines are and buy tickets on that side. We were on the Texas Tech side, and I think by the time we got tickets, we were just looking for enough tickets to have me and some of our family members, and so we just got whatever we could. So we were on the Texas Tech side, and it was probably 90% Tech fans and 10% BYU fans where we were. Like there wasn't any BYU fan where we could have a conversation with them from where we were sitting. So we were pretty surrounded. I'd probably say it was 50% BYU fans on the other side of the stadium, but we were definitely in the minority where we were. But mostly a positive experience with the other Tech fans. I thought they were pretty positive, and they weren't too many that were rude to us or anything. But yeah, it was a great atmosphere. Like kudos to their fans because they were loud and the first half was exciting. So I'm glad we were there, even though the outcome looks like it was awful. But I'd rather be at that one than at the one in Lubbock.
Yeah,
there was nothing to choose in that one. That was over from the beginning.
Right. I mean, ultimately, it was an even worse outcome, but it started off much better. It started off with a little bit more hope. In terms of sitting surrounded by Cougar fans, it makes a difference. I was at Tennessee, and I just found seats, and I found out I was right next to the student section, and that did not make a lot of the game very fun. But so since then, I always look for where the Cougars going to be sitting and try to sit there. So like at ECU, it was the same price to get lower bowl center field as it was down in the corner with the BYU fans. But I was like, no, I'd rather be with the BYU fans because then you can cheer louder, and just it's fun to feed off of that energy. Yeah. So what would you say that? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think after the first touchdown, when we sang the fight song, I think we were, about 10 beats ahead because we couldn't actually hear what anybody else was singing. It was, we were singing solos where we were, but.
What was the overall split? Do you think it was like 40-60 BYU, 60 or 35-65?
My guess would be 70-30 would probably be my guess. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really hard to tell. We were severely outnumbered where we were, but the blue looked good on the other side. But I would probably say 70-30 if not a little bit less.
I mean, they had several false starts, so I mean, it sounds like Cougar fans showed up.
I don't know if that was because of the fans, but yeah, maybe.
I'm gonna say it's because of the fans.
I mean, there were
Maybe.
definitely like that's what 83,000 in that stadium. So to have 30% of that for BYU fans is still really really good.
Yeah.
And somebody else was making the point that Texas Tech knew they were going to be in that game for weeks, so they were able to gobble up those tickets real fast. So I think it was still a pretty good showing, even though I think we were hoping for more like a 60-40.
Yeah. You said fans, because I feel like BYU and Texas Tech over the course of the season have kind of started a little bit of a bromance within the conference. Do you think that, like you said, overall it was pretty cordial? Like there was a lot of, aside the fact that we got beat down and I had our teeth punched in. It was pretty like positive environment to be in.
Yeah, I'd say so. You always get the vocal minority. Like once it was clear they were going to win, there's some guys from 5 rows up, and when we're leaving, there's a couple people that might have had a little too much to drink and little things like that. But
too much to drink.
So I don't want to like ruin the whole experience just from a couple of knuckleheads. But overall, I thought Tech fans were really good, and they're excited about their team, and they should be, man. That's just a good, better team, and we were telling everybody we were going to root for them for the rest of the year, and yeah, I thought it was mostly positive.
Good, love to hear that. So overall, do you regret going? Do you wish you'd gone to a different game instead, or are you happy you went?
I think I'm happy I went. I mean, I took my boys; it was their first game, but. Yeah, I mean, like the first drive was so exciting. Then we get to 3rd and 15 on the next drive, and it's only a 6-point game at halftime. Like there was enough excitement that I'm glad that I went, and it was a cool buzz. And while the program looks like it's on the rise, you still wonder when the next time you'll get that opportunity is. So, that's not something that's not one that I regret.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard. I mean, that is the trade-off. You're like, you go and it is a risk. Like you go and you're risking, having a terrible time. And it was not a great outcome, but glad you generally had fun. And it was a more entertaining game, at least for most of it.
Again, what I would do differently would certainly be try to get as close to BYU fans as possible. That really does make a big difference.
Yeah, it does. So. Now BYU, I mean, obviously, let's transition to the bowl season now, because we knew BYU basically had to win this game. I mean, maybe if the other conference championships went the way BYU needed, and BYU took this game to like overtime and won off of like a missed or failed 2-point conversion or something, maybe they could have squeaked in. But you kind of felt like you had to win this to get in, or you're sitting out. So. I mean, or was there really – I don't think BYU fans – I think we've been prepping for weeks, kind of reading the tea leaves, that there's only one way to get in, and you had to win that game. And so, I mean, were you really surprised at all by the outcome there, or what do you make of the committee's ultimate selection?
Oh, man, I think it makes absolutely no sense. The whole system is just kind of dumb. Like, if BYU had won, would Notre Dame be in? Like, I don't understand what they're thinking. Where Notre Dame and Miami make jumps without playing, or not really Notre Dame, but Miami makes a jump without playing, and do you get penalized for playing in the conference championship game like BYU kind of did? They dropped a spot, but Alabama got curb stomped, and they get to stay where they are. Like nothing seems to make sense, and people are complaining, and I think that's perfect for the sport because 12 probably isn't enough, and changes need to be made. And why do they even come out with playoff rankings if it's just going to change during the last week? I think it's a little bit insane. I would be mad if I was a Notre Dame fan, even though I felt like they were kind of overrated from the get-go. But I love that people are mad about the system because it does not favor BYU currently or the Big 12.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, I mean, that's a conversation we've had for a long time. I mean, I've been fed up with the system. I've railed on it enough. I won't get go too much into that again, because that's been a constant talking point, all season long. But yeah, it is a mess. And yeah, this is 2 years in a row that BYU's got hosed. And that's the thing is, like, there's always going to, no matter how big you make it, there's always going to be somebody that has a case that they should have been included. So I hate that as a reasoning alone for expansion, especially with basketball. That does not need to be expanded. Football, I'm open to that. I don't want to see it get too big. I think 16 would be a good number, because you get a few more teams in, and then once you go beyond 16, like at that point, you really don't have a strong argument for, hey, we're like a realistic contender. I already don't think, like, I think there's more than 12 playoff worthy teams. Like, Texas isn't wrong that they could be in the playoffs and do really well. Vanderbilt isn't wrong, but at some point the season has to count for something. The games that you've won, the games that you've lost, and your performance has to count for something. So it's not just, great, we believe that you can win games, but it has to be earned during the season. And then on top of all that, while there are all those teams that I think, are playoff quality, not all the teams that are going to make the playoffs are really championship quality. Like, realistically, there's only a handful of teams that I think most likely have a chance to really win it all. Do I think BYU is one of those teams? No. Do I think they should have definitely been in the playoff? Yes. And so that's kind of the hard trade-off, because I also don't think the teams that were right there on the fringe with BYU realistically had a shot to win it all either. So I don't know. It's a mess, and hopefully they figure it out, but it sounds like they're going to probably make things worse before they make them better.
I mean, BYU couldn't have had a better year, right? Like, they weren't going to beat Texas Tech. And so to still be on the outside looking in is frustrating. 16 teams feels like if you only have one loss in a Power 4 conference, then you're going to probably be in. 12 teams is not good enough. Has shown that BYU was on the outside from before the championship game. So yeah, if it gets to 16, I'd like to think I would be happy, but you're right. People are going to just continue to complain regardless.
Yeah, I mean, someone's always going to have a case, and it's true. Like, the difference between, if you go to 16, the difference between 16 and 17 might be, pretty slim, but that's fair. But really, is 17 really like a threat to win it all? Probably not. So I mean, there's
16. With 16, you're starting to talk about teams with 3 losses. So by then, yeah, they've already shown that they're not a championship contender. But teams with 1 and 2 losses, you got to get them in. I do think we would all be complaining like crazy if we did lose by 3, and then we'd really be complaining about that Alabama loss, and we'd be pretty mad right now. So
yeah, I would be livid.
Maybe for all of our emotions, it's good that we got beat by quite a bit.
That's true. We were all kind of prepared for this outcome, and this was the worst possible scenario, but also it's the one that allows us to kind of move on the fastest. But there's a couple tweets there I wanted to look at. We got Barstool Big 12 saying, so Alabama doesn't get punished for playing in their conference championship, but BYU does. There's a lot of sentiment like that. Nicole Arbach, who's a reporter, she says, so BYU was penalized for getting blown out in its conference championship game, dropped 1 spot, which allowed Miami to move up and get compared directly to Notre Dame. But which, side note, BYU was right there with SMU last year, won the head-to-head. It didn't matter then. So again, another double standard upon double standard. It's so wild. But Alabama was not penalized for getting blown out in this conference championship game. So again, all the contradictions, it's really about whoever the committee wants at that time. I mean, when you look at these, and this is updated to match, after that final weekend, but you look at this, how on earth did BYU not get in over these teams? If you compare especially these metrics like strength of record, which the SEC petitioned for, and BYU outperforms the SEC, many SEC schools in that metric, and it's still not enough to get them in. Yeah. It's wild.
Miami is an absolute head scratcher to me. That like, they didn't play in the conference championship in their scrubby conference and lose to 2 unranked teams. Like, what in the world?
Well, the ESPN didn't want to see one of their conferences, one of their properties not get in.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's at NBC. Why are they going to do them favors?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the whole thing is just rigged. I mean, when you think about it, not only is it all run by ESPN, and this is like tinfoil hat, whatever, fine. But the whole thing is run by ESPN. They own most of the bowl games. Like they have all the power and influence. And then you go on to ESPN nowadays and you see like WWE content on there. This is no longer like real sports. This now feels like it's just entertainment, and they can. And when that's the case, like it can be rigged. You can do whatever. They're just there for entertainment, sake, not to actually put on real competition.
Yeah. I mean, they're not funding the committee technically, right? But somehow they have quite the influence.
Yeah, you can't tell me there's no influence. I mean, at least we had Mark Harlan in the room vouching for it.
Yeah, that was really helpful.
Way to go, Brett Yormark. Great appointment there. All right, so this is what I want to talk about next. So here, I thought the next best thing going to the Pop Tart Bowl against Notre Dame would have been fantastic. But Notre Dame, after they didn't make the college football playoff, and here they're all turning in their jerseys. Little take there, Rudy. I better take that down before I get flagged. But I don't know. What do you make of Notre Dame's decision to not go to the bowl game? That to me just seems wild.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a Notre Dame thing to do, but I almost can't be too mad at them. Like they had to have been 98% sure that they were going to play in the playoff, right? There's no reason to think that a team that doesn't play would jump them. So to not even be prepared for that scenario, and then all of a sudden that's what you're told, and you're just flat out mad. And maybe that's a way to get back at ESPN, or just, maybe they're just kind of being a little bit uppity in first class and then saying that's beneath them. I don't know. Like, it's disappointing. I would have loved to have played them, but I guess I can kind of see it.
Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, because that is the consolation prize. Everyone in America would have been behind and been like, why are these two teams sitting out? Like, they got snubbed. I think it would have been a very, like, just the perception. It would have been like the fan favorite kind of game. Like, I think a lot of America would have gotten behind that. The last couple of years with this Pop Tarts Bowl has really been all the rage. It's been just a lot of fun to watch. It's this big spectacle. I think it's great for, furthermore, not only for the brand and just, getting people excited, but you're giving your players one more game to go play. Is it ultimately meaningless? Yes, but you can go out and make a statement and also reward your kids. Take them to Orlando and let them play.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's what it's all for. Like, this is going to be the last chance some of these guys have to ever put on a football uniform. These guys were expecting to play more football, and then to find out abruptly that your season is over, that's got to be pretty hard.
And now their last game was played against Stanford, right? Like, that's whoever thought, and they didn't even know it. Like, who thought that was going to happen? So yeah, and extra practices and young guys getting experience, there definitely would have been benefits. So it's kind of like they threw a little bit of a tantrum, but I'm still not surprised. It's frustrating, but still not surprised.
Yeah. So then it's frustrating for me because BYU doesn't go to the Alamo Bowl, because I guess they like to mix things up a little bit, not bring the same team back, where you had the opportunity to go play USC. Are they the USC of yesteryear? No, but they're still a ranked team and it's still a big brand. And now instead we're playing Georgia Tech at the Pop Tart Bowl. I mean, how do you feel about that? Like, where would you have liked to end up? Are you happy about that matchup with Tech?
I mean, I think knowing that you're going to be in the Pop Tart Bowl, which is a good bowl, you would have gone against Notre Dame. I guess that's probably the best consolation is Georgia Tech, especially if it needs to be an ACC team. I mean, they went toe to toe with Georgia. They were top 10 for a while. You're not going to get. Like, I would have loved to play USC just because it's a big brand from the Big Ten. Like, anytime you can play Big Ten or SEC, it's a chance to prove something. So now if you beat Georgia Tech, it's going to be kind of like, no big deal. So that is a little bit disappointing, but I still think it's the best outcome given the bowl, which we knew we were probably going to be in.
Yeah, I was thinking it might be UVA once I heard Notre Dame was bowing out. So I agree. Georgia Tech is better than that. It's not as like sexy of a brand, but this is a good team. Like, they should not be overlooked. And BYU has actually, I think it was the first ever BYU game I attended at LaVell Edwards Stadium was a loss to Georgia Tech. So if I'm not mistaken, I think that's when Steve Young's number was retired. So you had to have been at that game.
They beat us in LaVell?
If I remember right.
I know we beat them in Atlanta, in Georgia. Are they in Atlanta? in wherever they're in
Yeah,
Georgia.
they're in Atlanta. Yeah.
And so and it's close to them. Like they're gonna have some fans, but bowl games are funny, right? Like it's ultimately it kind of comes down to who's playing and who's not. You get so many guys that opt out, and who are they playing as hard? So we might read into bowl games a little bit more than we should, but it's one more game. It's hard not to be a little bit disappointed because of what the possibilities were, but it's a successful season and a good bowl.
I was wrong. We did win that one, and we lost the one the year before, and that one was in Atlanta. So my mistake. But obviously left a big impression on me. So anyway, it should be a good one. I haven't watched a lot of Georgia Tech. I've heard a lot of good things. I watched some of the Georgia game, watched some of the Colorado game. So I guess that's kind of the bookends of their season. But people are really high on this team and the coaching staff and the players. A lot of comparisons I hear to BYU. So not a team you can overlook. And it's especially not after you just miss out. Like if you're BYU, just like last year, you cannot then go lay an egg in the bowl game. You have to go out and like really prove something, because ultimately, one, that's going to silence people, or it's going to give them fodder to use against BYU. So you never belonged anyway. But also if you win, that really is going to help with ultimately with your final ranking this season, which should theoretically, didn't this year, but should theoretically help with where you start next year. And then even though it's stupid and I hate the AP poll, it's going to ultimately impact where you start the season, which will impact where the committee ranks you later. Like it has this snowball effect, rightfully so or not. And so BYU really needs to end the season on a good note.
So there's a question for you. If we had started out ranked 17th or 13th, whatever we would have been with Retzloff, would we be in the college football playoffs right now?
I think that's a really good question. I think so, because I think the AP rankings are so stupid, but I think they would have had us a lot higher, and it would have been a lot harder, especially with this, if assuming you have the same record, right? Then, which is a big assumption, but if you come away with the same record, then yeah, it would have been a lot harder to justify moving us down, after that loss. So
I agree. That absolutely.
I mean, but that goes down to also, I hate that automatically you lose, you get bumped down, whatever. Like if you go and lose a close game against a team that's top 4 in championship caliber, I guess they were whatever they were at the time. Like, should you? I mean, we got really beat down, so we probably deserve the drop. But I'm just saying, in general, like if 10 plays 1 and loses a close game, 10 is still going to drop every time, and that doesn't make sense. They lost the game they were supposed to lose.
Right.
And if they had a good showing, theoretically, they could even move up. You could actually say, hey, they played number 1 even better than we thought, and would have a case to move up. But that's not how it works. The whole thing is just pretty simplistic, I think.
But bringing up to kind of the starting out for the next year, like I think those kind of things are more important to a team like BYU and a team like Georgia Tech than it would be to a team like USC, who already has the prestige and they're always overrated at the beginning or something like that, right? So big brands don't need that as much, and they typically have more of those players opt out than some of these other teams that are trying to get to the table. So I think for that reason, it's going to be a competitive and intense game with Georgia Tech.
So last thing I want to talk about when you mentioned opting out. So we've had several Big 12 teams opt out of bowl games. And so teams that were bowl eligible, and then because so many teams have opted out, invitations have been extended to teams that didn't quite make a bowl game, and they've also turned those invitations down. Like, what do you make of this? And is this going to be a trend going forward?
Well, I don't know about a trend. I haven't looked too much into it for Kansas State. I'm not sure what their reasoning was, other than they were hoping to have a better season, so they're probably just a little mad. Iowa State just lost their coach, so you can kind of see that where maybe they don't have a replacement, or maybe everybody's just so disappointed about it and they're just not in a mindset to play. Some of the teams that turn them down when they weren't expected to go bowling, like I think they just weren't planning on it, so I can see them turning it down. But Kansas State is the one that's a head scratcher to me. Did you ever hear a reason for them?
I saw something that they took a team vote, and they decided that it was in their interest not to or something. I don't know. It was super vague, but I was like, what happened to their coach? Like, how selfish of this coach who's going to retire? And I know they needed to say something so they could get, go ahead and hire their replacement coach and things, but he's still there. He's not going to another program, so you don't have to worry about the conflict of interest. Like, let him go out, coach one final game, take his guys through. Like, he's built this team. He's brought in a lot of talent. Like, why not give your team that? And I have a hard time feeling, I mean, they said they took a team vote, whatever, but so I don't really know what was going on in their heads and if that's what the players wanted, but I mean, that's lost revenue. And then I heard, I can't remember the amount, but that the Big 12 fined the programs for declining these bowl games, as they should, because that's revenue that they bring in for the conference. Because I was at the end of the season. Here I am looking at, like, trying to decide how I want to root. First, I was looking for what's going to help BYU the most. Then I was looking at the Big 12, and I was like, well, does it help the Big 12 to get Kansas into a bowl game more than, have Utah ranked a little higher or whatever? And I was like, that would be good. And then all these teams turned down bowl games. You had I don't have the list. I thought I had it in front of me. All turning him down. And I'm like, well, forget that. I'm not going to root for these guys to make bowl games that don't even care about them after all.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hopeful that that's not a trend, but I think we all agree some of these lower bowl games just have no meaning. They don't get good viewership. Some of the bowl games with ranked matchups can do pretty well, but some of them just kind of feel like exhibitions anyway. I hope they still play them in the future just for the spirit of competition, but I guess I'm not too surprised. I do wish that they would make some kind of a rule about hiring coaches during the season. Like, I think it needs to wait until it's all over, because when you poach coaches, even coordinators, like, it just changes how the end of the season's gonna run, and I think that's as much to blame as anything.
Yeah, something really has to be done with that and the timeline of the season and everything. But yeah, I mean, there's tampering rules and everything in the in the professional leagues. I don't know why there couldn't be in here say, hey, here's the portal, here's when you can announce these things. And I understand teams want to get a head start, but it's unfair to again, ultimately these are supposed to be student athletes. Yes, they're getting paid a lot of money, but then it's unfair to the fans and the programs and everything that are being impacted by this. And so
was BYU affected with their performance?
That's a good argument. I mean, most likely, like, I don't know how they weren't. And now I also was hoping that it would galvanize the team once Satake was back. And maybe it did, and maybe it just didn't matter, but it seemed like it had to have affected them somehow.
Here's the other question about the I think they did come out with some juice. I don't know if it was too much negative impact, other than I don't know how distracted the coordinators might have been in game planning. So I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
I think it's just too hard for us to know, but I don't think it would have made a difference either way. But one question, because I haven't heard about the severity of Bear's injury. Like, is he going to be 100% by the time they play Georgia Tech? Is this, that's another little factor in that matchup.
That's true. It's something you have to think about. Are we unleashing McKay Hillstead instead of seeing Bear? Because honestly, like, as much as I want BYU to go win this game, I'd rather have Bear Bachmeier healthy for next year.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened. I mean, Cam Ward, they sat him out the second half of the game. But who was it? I feel like there was a couple years ago, somebody came in, they're like, no, I'm going to play this bowl game. It was some big brand program, and somebody came in and got injured and ultimately, I think, impacted. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. But I mean, that's a real risk, to these players, and especially Bear, who's planning on coming back. Like, is that worth it? So, I mean, that goes back to these bowl games being pretty meaningless ultimately, and I do think there's far too many. But I'd like to see power programs and teams like that. Those are the teams I'd rather be watching instead of these like G6 schools.
Yeah.
But anyway. A good deal. Well, we got to keep this one short tonight. I've got to be up early, headed to New York to catch the BYU Clemson game tomorrow. So I'll be covering that. So be sure to like this video, but subscribe to the channel. If you want, follow me on Twitter. That's all in the show notes below. and I'll be posting a lot of stuff from that. Should be a good time, and my first time inside MSG. So be sure to be here for all that content, and then we'll keep covering the Big 12, BYU throughout the rest of this college football season, and obviously going into the basketball season. We'll keep coming to you live and covering live reaction after some of the major games, especially the bowl game coming up. So be sure to catch all of that. Jimmy, thank you so much for joining me. It's good to catch up. Let's not make it so infrequent. Let's do this more often.
Hey, anytime. I enjoyed it, and hopefully you're sitting with the BYU section in MSG.
I'm hoping that the seats are open enough, because there's 2 games that I'm going to try to bounce around and get into the best seats possible that I can find. So, but it's going to be hard because all three of the 4 teams are blue, so it'll be harder to spot the Cougar section.
True.
So, all right, buddy. All right, well, take care, and as always, go Cougs.
Go Cougs. Enjoy.